What is up, everybody? It is Rust Belt Perspective here. Today is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023, and today we're going to be taking a look about 11 months out from the 2024 election day at the Senate map coming into 2024 and once again predicting it. There are things that have changed since last month when I made my last round of predictions, such as some retirements uh, and how we saw how the 2023 off-year elections went, and some other controversy with incumbent senators, which we will all get into in this video. But before we even do that, let's check the generic ballot to see where the nation stands. It's very close right now. The Republicans very narrowly lead in the polls in the generic ballot. That is by 0.7 points, where just a few days ago the Democrats were leading very narrowly, and it's been very narrow back and forth for quite some time now. So in reality, no party really has a strong upper hand over the other as we head into 2024. At least as of now, a lot can change between now and next November. And you look at the favorability of Republican favorite Donald Trump, the very likely Republican nominee. He is disapproved of by 9.9 points. He actually has fallen within single digits for the first time, like since he left office. So I guess by that metric, he actually, you could argue he's on the rise, but let's be real, he's still disapproved of by 10 points and is in a lot of legal trouble. Whereas his opponent, Joe Biden, right now he is disapproved of by 17 points, which is the almost the most that he ever has been disapproved of by. Um, so you could argue that Trump is 7 points better than Biden, with one being a negative 10 and one being negative 17. But let's be real, they're both disapproved of by nearly double digits, and we saw 2023 off-year elections widely favored the Democrats throughout the nation. States such as Kentucky, Pennsylvania, even Ohio. So there's a lot working for and against both parties as far as recent events have gone. So that calls for a very close Senate race, as the Senate map favors the Republicans, but the Democrats also do have a lot of very electable incumbents throughout the nation. So we'll get into all of that as we predict. Wyoming, Utah, North Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi, Indiana, all safe bets for the Republicans to maintain in 2024 in the Senate level. There's strong incumbents in some of them, but some of them, Indiana, Jim Banks looking to take over, and as the senator, he has strong Republican support, as Mike Braun is retiring to run for their the governor's race instead. In Wyoming, John Barrasso is not yet declared whether or not he is rerunning, but it doesn't really matter. It's a deep red state. Mitt Romney is retiring from Utah, but it's still a deep red state, so that doesn't really matter. And also now West Virginia, a safe Republican state. I had a likely Republican before, but now that Joe Manchin has announced he is not rerunning, it is widely expected the state flips red due to its partisan lean and the fact that Republican Jim Justice is running, who is a very popular Republican from the state. So right off the bat, the Republicans at 48, they just need 3 or 2 posted presidents each from this point to win the control of the Senate. But the Democrats, they, like I said, have a lot of powerful incumbents to make this interesting. Bernie Sanders and Angus King, the two independents that have sided with the Democrats since joining the Senate, both solid blue up there in the north. Same with the rest of the New England territory, honestly, as it is a very solid blue region. It has been for quite some time. You got New York, Delaware, Maryland, and then Minnesota with Amy Klobuchar, New Mexico with Martin Heinrich, and then a lot of the rest of the West as well. Part of that blue wall for the Democrats. And I will also now consider Virginia a safe blue state after seeing what happened in the 2023 off-year elections. The Republicans, coming into them, they held the governorship and the House of Delegates. Were hoping to flip the state Senate to get the Republican trifecta in the state. Instead, not only did the Democrats just hang out of the state Senate, they also flipped the House of Delegates. They had a major pushback against Republicans in this state. So it kind of shows that Virginia very much is still a Democratic state at heart, despite the 2021 governor's race. And Tim Kaine, of course, he is popular anyway. And unless Glenn Youngkin runs for that governor's race, which there really isn't, or senator, excuse me, which there really isn't much indication that he will, Tim Kaine should be reelected with ease in 2024. So that puts it at 48 to 42 right now. As we start to look at some of the more competitive races. We'll start out with the likely Democratic states. New Jersey, I am putting as a likely Democratic state because incumbent Democratic Senator Bob Menendez has had some controversy around his name recently, and a lot of Democrats in the state are going for primary challenges against him. So this calls for a messy Democratic primary in New Jersey. Now, Menendez might not even run, but he has expressed interest in doing so, and if he does, of course, that's going to be messy. But even if he doesn't, there's still multiple Democratic candidates seeking this nomination. So it's going to be a messy primary for the Democrats, while the Republicans, obviously, they are outnumbered in this state by quite a bit. They have seen success somewhat recently with in 2021, it was a close governor's race, and of course, with the Democrats' mess here, that could make it a closer race, though in reality, the Democrats probably will win, just not by quite a dominant margin. Also, neighboring state Pennsylvania, I consider likely Democratic in this case because while it is much more competitive on the presidential level between Trump and Biden, on the Senate level, Bob Casey, a very popular Democratic incumbent who doesn't have the strongest challenger in Republican David McCormick. You see Bob Casey, 2018 won re-election by 13, 2012 by 9, and first elected in 2006 by 17 points. He has maintained dominant margin of victory in the state despite a lot of the other races that are statewide in Pennsylvania being close throughout the years. Bob Casey, very popular. Also, Wisconsin, I consider a likely Democratic state. While similar to Pennsylvania, this is a very close state on the Senate, or on the presidential level between Trump and Biden. On the Senate level has been a different story. Baldwin won by 10 points in 2018, and even by 5 in 2012, which I guess isn't as impressive, but still. She is popular in the state, and in fact, she is known nationwide, being the first ever openly gay United States Senator. And there really is not a strong Republican to challenge her at all. All the U.S. representatives from the state that are Republican that considered running have all declined to run, so there really isn't a powerful candidate to take on Tammy Baldwin. So while Trump and Biden is a completely different story, Tammy Baldwin has a firm grip here on Wisconsin. So that does it for likely Democratic states. There is one likely Republican state, and that is Florida. Rick Scott, though he has some unpopularity within his own party, overall the partisan lead of the state has very much shifted red over the years. It went for Trump nearly in 2016 before it went further for Trump in 2020, despite Trump's unpopularity that actually went against him. And then you saw in 2022, Rubio and DeSantis both absolutely crushed it here. As the Democrats are just continue to be disorganized in this state, they cannot get they have not seen federal level success here in quite some time. I think 2012, when Obama and Bill Nelson won, was the last time they have seen success here federally, or even on the state level for that matter. So Rick Scott, despite his troubles, he should be fine by well over 5 points in Florida. And now we get into the lean states. Stay in red. I'll consider Texas a lean Republican state. Ted Cruz isn't the most appealing candidate down here, but he has won twice in Colorado, the Democrats. He is an appealing candidate, and the state definitely has tightened up. But that being said, I think people are getting a little too excited. Democrats in Texas are getting a little too excited here. Like, yes, you had Romney winning by 15, and then Trump by 9, so that was a big jump, and then an even bigger jump in 2020 when Trump won by just 5.5. But you gotta remember, 2020, the national mood was very bad against Trump, but he still won by this much, outperforming polls and expectations here by quite a bit. So, with that in mind, you also saw in 2022, on the governor's race, in this state. Um, Greg Abbott, he did fine, winning by 11 points, even with abortion being the big issue in 2022, and Abbott's stance against it. So, Ted Cruz, yes, Colin Allred does present a firm challenge to Cruz, but I don't think it's going to be enough to shift the state dramatically for the Democrats to win. Though I call it lean because it is in play for the Democrats, but it will take a lot for them to overcome. It will be the first time they've won the state federally in a long time. I don't think it'll happen yet in 2024. So that puts the Republicans at 50. They either need to win the presidency or one more of these 5 Senate seats to achieve a Senate majority. We'll see how it goes. The Democrats have incumbents in all of these states, and it will not be easy for the Republicans in any of these races, but they can absolutely win any of them. We'll start out with Arizona. I will consider a lean Democratic state. It's an interesting 3-way race we're looking at between Ruben Gallego, whoever gets the Republican nomination, which I think will be Kari Lake, and Kyrsten Sinema, the incumbent, who was once a Democrat, now an independent. So this race really could go Democratic or Republican, but overall, this state has been shifting blue tremendously throughout the last half decade. You saw 2012, Romney did just fine, winning by 9, but in 2016, it shifted over 5 points away from Trump, and that is largely due to Trump not being an appealing candidate in Arizona. And then in 2020, it went blue for Biden. It was the first time it went blue at a presidential level since 1996. So, and then in 2022, that was kind of reinforced with the Senate race, Mark Kelly winning by 5 points over the Trump-endorsed Blake Masters. And of course, 2018, when Sinema won, was another example of that. And then, furthermore, you saw Katie Hobbs flip the governorship over Kari Lake, who is looking to be the Senate nominee for the Republicans. So with the state shifting blue, I think Ruben Gallego will earn a win here in Arizona, but it won't be easily. Then in Nevada, Jackie Rosen I think will do fine as well. No matter how hard the Republicans try, they have not been able to break the state federally in a long time. You saw Biden held on, Clinton held on, Obama won, and the last time the state went red was in the George Bush era, and that is long gone, as we know. The West as a whole has really been shifting blue, and I don't think Trump will be able to break Nevada. It didn't happen in 2022 either, with Cortez Masto narrowly hanging on. It was the narrowest victory of anyone for the Democrats, but 2022 was a little bit redder of a year than 2024 is shaping up to be. And Jackie Rosen is popular within her state. She has no strong challenger either, so that helps Jackie Rosen as well. She won by 5 points in 2018, the most a candidate of either side has won statewide here in quite a while. So I do believe that the Democrats will hold on in Nevada. One state that I think is going to surprise a lot of people is Michigan. I made a video about that last month. I'll go ahead and link it in the description. Feel free to check it out, please. I think Michigan's going to be a lot closer than people think at both the presidential and Senate level, due to seeing how close, how much the polls have gotten Michigan wrong throughout recent years, and the fact that James Craig, I think, really can be an appealing candidate for the Republicans in the state. But I narrowly will still call it for the Democrats right now, because at the end of the day, the Democrats still do have a better record in the state throughout recent memory than the Republicans. Though I really do think that will tighten up in 2024, but not quite enough for the Republicans to break it, though it totally could happen. I do believe it can. So now we, of course, get into the 2 most interesting states. The two states that lean very much Republican federally, but have 2 popular Democratic incumbents in Sherrod Brown and Jon Tester. Of course, in 2020, you have Trump winning Montana by 16 and Ohio by 8, and that trend has been there throughout the Trump era. Trump very much appeals to Ohio, and Montana, of course, has been a red state for a long time on the federal level. And in 2018, you saw Sherrod Brown reelected by about 7, Tester by about 3.5. They have maintained popularity within their states, so the big question is, who challenges them? Well, we'll look at Montana first. You see, the Republicans, Tim Sheehy has a lot of Republican support, with a number of Republican U.S. senators endorsing him, as well as popular Governor Greg Gianforte and U.S. Representative Ryan Zinke, who is well known in the state as well. But Matt Rosendale is also expected to enter this race, the one who lost to Tester in 2018. And he isn't necessarily popular among the Republican Party, like federally, but the voters of Montana like him, and that's what you need in a primary race. You need the it's about what the voters think, not about what the federal party officials think. So it does call for an interesting race. You look at the polling between the two, and Matt Rosendale, he was crushing Sheehy throughout the summer, but Sheehy has been able to break Rosendale's lead as of late, winning one poll by as many as 16 points, but it's not a done deal for Sheehy yet. This is going to be an expensive primary for the Republicans. And Jon Tester, of course, is just standing there with his popularity. He has fundraised a lot of money already. So we'll see what happens. Tim Sheehy has not raised nearly as much as Tester yet, though that could change if Sheehy does win the Republican primary. So, and you look at the polls between the two, Tester and Sheehy, they've each won one, but overall, I do think that Tester will hang on in Montana, though it will be very narrowly. I don't think he's going to win by as big as 2018 when it was a blue wave year, or 2012 and a bluer year, 2024 shaped up to be, or in 2006. Well, actually, 2006 he very narrowly won in a deep blue year, but still. So it's going to be very close, but I do think Tester will hang on. Now we get into Ohio. Last time around, I predicted this one Republican, but after seeing how Ohio very much voted in favor to keep their abortion access, that really made me question my decision about that. The Republicans, of course, have 3 candidates fighting for the nomination to take on Sherrod Brown in the general election. And Frank LaRose, the Secretary of State, was initially the frontrunner, though it has gotten closer. Bernie Moreno's been endorsed by J.D. Vance, the other senator of the state. And then there's, of course, State Senator Matt Dolan, who is a viable candidate as well. And Bernie Moreno, he does have more endorsements than either of the other two. He has 4 United States senators behind him, including Vance himself. But an interesting thing is, you look at the polling, and LaRose, like I said, he was the frontrunner, but Bernie Moreno did very narrowly win the most recent poll, though there's a lot undecided. And, like, all 3 are getting decent results in polls, so they're all viable candidates to win. And you see how there's huge numbers of undecided? What I think that is Donald Trump, of course, has a large influence on this state. In 2008 and 2012, it was very much a not very much so, but it still was won by the Democrats with Barack Obama. But in 2012, Trump shifted that by a lot. He won by 8 points in 2016 and maintained that in 2020 despite how much the national was against him. And even in 2022, he endorsed J.D. Vance, who really did not run a very good campaign, but Vance still won by 6 points. So Trump, as we see, has a strong influence in this state. And if we're going by Trump's endorsement here, I think he's going to endorse Bernie Moreno, because that is somebody that Trump has spoken highly of, more so than the other two. So if it's not Frank LaRose and it ends up being Bernie Moreno instead, that really makes me worry, because Sherrod Brown's competition from 2018 did not run a very good campaign either. So if Bernie Moreno does not run a very good campaign like J.D. Vance did not, that worries me. And when you take into the factor of abortion too, and how Ohio, they want their abortion rights, well, Sherrod Brown favors that a heck of a lot more than any Republican candidate, especially Bernie Moreno. So I think Sherrod Brown, with his popularity and some factors, such as abortion, working in his favor. I think Sherrod Brown holds on, so we're looking at a 50-50 Senate map again. Only West Virginia flips on this map. I could definitely be wrong on some of these. There's still a lot that could change between now and next November. Please comment down what you guys think. So ultimately, I think it's going to come down to the presidency to see who wins control of the Senate, and it will be razor thin for either party, just like it was the first 2 years of the Biden administration. So yeah, this is Rust Belt Perspective, signing out.